All right, gentlemen, so here is the lesson for today. We're beginning a new unit. So we're looking at chapter 9, which is the market revolution, and then we're going to head straight into chapter 12, which is the age of reform. And this works very well with the DBQ that we are doing because, we're talking about commercial development here, and then we're talking about social development in just a little bit. So the market revolution in Europe, it's known as the first industrial revolution. And what it is it's the invention of the cottage system here in the US, in which you gather people in homes to do basically what they used to do in their house, which if we're here is can be making clothes or making cloth. And it's a rudimentary factory system. And what we also are going to talk about is the evolution of transportation as well as communication. So when we look at commercial development, we talked about this the other day. You look at innovation and how people's lives are made easier. And Bernard Shaw here, those who understand the steam engine and the electric telegraph spend their lives in trying to replace them with something better. So you think about the steam engine, trains and steamboats. It leads to the combustible engine with, using coal on the rail lines. Eventually we get automobiles. We're going to get airplanes. It's just a way to, make something better, make transportation more efficient. When we look at the telegraph, it turns into the telephone, which turns into the radio, which turns into television, and now we have the internet and smartphones. It's all about making these things better and finding ways to improve. In order to get from one place to another and to share information, and with that also comes easier means of production. So, we'll talk about the factory system. Eventually we'll get into the assembly line, and then we'll get into automation. Now we have our, AI, artificial intelligence. All of this is supposed to make our lives easier. So here is a painting that pretty much illustrates what is going on at the time. All right. So now you see Samuel Morse there at his desk with the telegraph device, using his code, using Morse code. You see the ticker there that is reading off what he is sending. You have the steam engine on the right being used in the railroads as well as the boats in order to go up and down waterways, and to go on rails east to west across the country. And then on the left, you have the textile factories. All right, so you have this steam power that is also going to be used to help power certain machines that is going to turn thread into cloth, cotton into thread, and all of that. So that's what we're really taking a look at, as we go through this chapter. Okay, so when we always talk about economic periods, we're always talking about three things: innovation when it comes to production, innovation when it comes to transportation, and innovation when it comes to communication. So already have talked about these things pretty much already. So when we talk about transportation here, like the steam engine, all right, it used to be that you pretty much had two ways of getting your boat upriver, right? Either you're tying a rope around a group of oxen, and they're pulling your boat upstream, or you're using a fathom stick to push it. So those are pretty much the two ways to do it before the steam engine. So when Robert Fulton develops the steam engine, he's able to attach it successfully to a boat in New York, and what we see is the ability then to transport goods both directions easily on a waterway. So, it will open up the West in terms of now in Cincinnati, we can go up the Ohio River, toward Pennsylvania. In St. Louis, you can go up the Mississippi into the Wisconsin Territory. So this is going to allow for Western markets that have been, primitively settled, to really develop because they're going to have open access to more goods. All right. We're going to see states develop turnpikes, in order to create easier methods for people to travel on land. Not, railways are very rudimentary. They're not going to, be, uh, you know, used, uh, you know, very often by people, because there's some expense involved. So if you're traveling on foot, if you're traveling by horse, these turnpikes could be the cheaper and more efficient way to go. The national government's going to invest in the national road, which as Interstate 70. And that is going to also allow people to move into these Western territories, right? So you think about the national road, and that's where a lot of the state capitals are located here out west. All right, so Interstate 70, it goes, through Virginia and Maryland, through Virginia, and then it goes into Ohio. That's Columbus, Ohio, is on Interstate 70. It's on a river, on the national road. Indianapolis is on Interstate 70. Once again, a river cuts through Indianapolis, and it's on the national road. Vandalia is the first state capital of Illinois. It is on. That's where the national road ends, and you think of Interstate 70. It goes through St. Louis. It goes through Kansas City. It goes all the way out to Denver. So this is going to be developed by the national government in order to allow the movement of people and allow the movement of goods a little bit easier through the West. States, though, are the main focus in terms of developing their methods of transportation. That's what turnpikes are all about. It's a way for states to gain revenue in order to fix and repair roads or develop new ways for people to travel. My sister-in-law lives in Charlotte. I have to take, I-77. I go through West Virginia. West Virginia is a turnpike. It's a toll road. And it's a way for the state to gain revenue in order to do particular projects. Here in Ohio, we have a turnpike. If you go up around Cleveland, Toledo, I-90, you have to pay to use it. So it's a way for states to gain revenue in order to do particular projects and particular things that they want to do. Another method of payment, another transportation method of payment is the Erie Canal. The state of New York builds the Erie Canal and then charges people to use it. And the Erie Canal is very much a successful route because it cuts the transportation from the Great Lakes to New York City by 70%. So what we're looking at here is, goods being transported quicker and cheaper. And if the cost of making products is cheaper, then the price of the good ends up being cheaper. And if you're opening up more markets by increasing supply and ultimately increasing demand because you have access to more people, the price is going to stay low. So, with the building of the Erie Canal, with the development of the steam engine, boats are able to move quicker. They're able to move goods cheaply. And what we're going to see is that the economic market is going to greatly expand here within the United States. So when we talk about that expansion, okay, it's very important to understand that, we are looking at a connection between the North, so New York, Erie Canal, and the West. All right. So we're looking at the Northwest or Wisconsin territory. We're looking at the Illinois territory, in Chicago. We're looking at Indiana. We're looking at Ohio. And that's where these trade markets are going to open up. People have been moving here for pretty much a generation, after the Revolutionary War, after the War of 1812, in which the Native American alliance with Britain has been severed. We are going to see more people move into this area because it is safer to do so. If we were even just to look a little bit further south into Kentucky and Tennessee, we're going to see a lot more people move into this area, and they're going to be coming here for economic opportunity. And thanks to the new innovations, thanks to railroads that are being built across the state of New York, across the state of Pennsylvania, thanks to the Erie Canal, they have the ability to get access to products that they didn't have before. So living out west, you're no longer living in the wilderness. You're living more within a cultured society. That's what's important to note, is that the economic market that is opening up here during the market revolution is the Western territories and the Western states. New England is now able to trade more with the Western territories that it couldn't do before. And that is one of the reasons why our economy takes off at this time. All right. The other reason why our economy takes off at this time is because we have a lot more access to farmland in the South. So you can look at the GIF below and you can see how the country is expanding. All right, we gain access to these new territories that become Mississippi and Alabama. We gain access to Louisiana and to Florida. And what this creates is more opportunity for farmland. So as the country is moving west, in the north, the economic markets open up. In the south, it's more access to plantations. So because of the cotton gin being invented, it removes all of the skill from the labor market in southern agriculture, because all the what we see is that the slaves now have to plant the cotton. They harvest the cotton, they put the bulbs into the gin, and someone spins the lever on the gin, and that separates the seed from the bulb, and then the seeds can go and be planted in a new field, and the bulbs can be taken to be baled and loaded and transported to whatever factory in whatever region that they're being sent to. So by removing all of the skill from the labor, it does entrench slavery even more. So you can see that as the country expands, so does slavery, and you can see that slavery becomes even more concentrated in the South due to the climate, due to the long growing season, and due to the fact that they never truly industrialize. So when we talk about the market revolution and we talk about commercial development, there's a lot of development in the North. The South, though, the South remains stagnant with their commercial development because the cotton gin removes that skill. So you can see that after the War of 1812 in the graph, that production skyrockets, and it's because they're able to move west. It's because states like Kentucky and Tennessee become key cotton producing states. And it's because we remove the embargo. That's also really important. So, during this time period, the reason why production goes up so high is because in 1815, we are now trading once again with Europe. Also, it increases because we now have a factory system within the North, which we'll get to here in just a minute. So as people are moving out west, like I said, we do see these cities and urban centers start to develop, and they're transportation hubs. They're basically marketplaces where you can get your goods and then travel back home wherever you live. So, you think of Cincinnati, think of Findlay Market. Like, people would come to Findlay Market on the weekends, they would buy the products that they needed for the week, and then they would return home. So Cincinnati develops because it has access to the river. Kentucky is a plantation state. It grows a lot of cotton. So people from Kentucky will come north. People from Tennessee actually will come north. They'll load their goods up on the boats, and they'll send them up the Ohio River to the New England factories. And what we'll also see is that other cities like Chicago and like St. Louis are also going to develop pretty much for the same reason. And these urban centers, they have their own. What we'll see is eventually they'll have their own specialties. All right. Cincinnati, we're well known for pork. Our nickname is Porkopolis. Chicago is going to be known for cattle and for beef. Eventually, it just takes over the entire meat packing industry. St. Louis is going to be known for alcohol. It not just Anheuser-Busch with beer, but earlier on, it's going to be for whiskey as well. All right. So with Western development and with Western expansion, this creates a higher demand for goods, and that comes through the factory system that you see down there. So within the factory system, we need workers, and with the main products being from cotton, the labor group that develops is known as the mill girls. Right. And they're important to know is that, women are the first labor group within our country. And part of the reason why is because they're familiar with the products. Right. So within the cottage industry, you would have a woman at home, you'd have a mother at home, or you'd have her teenage daughter at home they might own a spinning jenny, or they might own a wheel in which they can, create thread from a cotton bale. All right. So that's the cottage industry in which you're working at home, making a product that you're already used to. Now with new inventions like the flying shuttle, like the power mule, the power loom, uh, you know, uh, what you end up with is products similar to what these women would have in their home. So they're going to be much better at operating that machinery than others would be. So women go into the labor force because they already have knowledge of the skill, and it is a way for girls in families to make a little bit extra money for home, and it's also a way for them to further develop their professional work. So these mill girls they'll live, around the factory in a dormitory. They'll get charged room and board as part of their salary, and they'll work pretty much from 5 in the morning until 7 at night. So they have long hours. They're constantly supervised. They have particular quotas that they're supposed to meet. But for a lot of them, this is an economic opportunity that they can't pass up. And part of the reason why the textile industry becomes so prominent is because of the cotton market, and the development of the cotton gin in the South. And, when we look at, why New England, well, Samuel Slater is an immigrant that comes over from Britain, and that's where he sets up the industry. He comes over and he has the blueprint in his head. He has it memorized for a textile factory, and it's based upon steam power. So he selects Lowell, Massachusetts because of its access to water, and because he knows that he can use the nearby water supply in order to power his factory. So that's what he does. So that's why we see a lot of these factories develop in Massachusetts. And with this new equipment creating a standardized process, and with the concept of interchangeable parts, these large machines do not need to be wholly replaced if they were to break down. You just need to replace the part that is broken, right? So the mill girls do try to organize. They do try to form a labor union, but there's no backing behind it. And we'll talk about that, at a later time. All right. That's the lesson for today. So when we come back, the next lesson is going to be, on this American culture, and start looking at a change in attitude. All right. So thank you, gentlemen, and have a good weekend. Lastly, do not forget to do the Heller item that is due on Monday, because it is Department Day. It's not right for me to assign it today, so make sure that you get that completed. There are pictures on the assignment so that you can complete it. All right. So thank you, guys.